Gunnarsson. Albert skorar! Albert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Helgesson har skotað þetta mark. Glæsilega gert. Óskar hann á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og Haraldur Ingólfsson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Besta pod ever. We are halfway through the season, through the regular season. And so we have an exciting week to once again run down for everybody. And of course, the international break is upon us. So that's exciting too. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But in the meantime, we should introduce my co-host here, Tryggvi. Tryggvi, welcome back, and thanks for joining me again.
Thanks, Joe. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. So you're packing up for a nice trip down the Dalmatian coast. So we're we're gonna run through all this, but yeah, that must be exciting. Are you excited to go on your trip?
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Unfortunately, I won't. I'll try to scout Breiðablik's possible Champions League opponent, Montenegro. Send them some reports.
There you go. Yeah, you're going to be right in their neck of the woods, even though the team will be back in Iceland. Funny enough, but yeah, that's
I mistimed that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that this episode as well, because the Champions League draw for the preliminary round, which Breiðablik is part of, came out earlier today. So yeah, we're planning on touching on that too, and who they drew and how that format is going to work. So yeah, but first let's go ahead and kind of run through match day 11, and we'll break down the games kind of as we saw them. So some interesting results this weekend, one or two for sure. And yeah, I guess we'll start off with the first game that kicked off on Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah, Kawa Filker, right? That was on Saturday, right?
I think
it was.
So.
I think
Feels
it
like
was.
a while ago.
Anyways, they're all blurring together now. It doesn't matter. But anyways, so Kawa 2, Filker 1. Kawa with a good good result at home. Haukson opened up the scoring in the 29th minute with a blistering shot, really nicely taken. He shot it from the right, coming down the right side, and it looked like it kind of crossed the face of goal into the far corner. So really nice goal to put them up 1-0 in the 29th minute. And then Harley Willard, the Englishman, scored in the 62nd minute to make it 2-0. Interesting fact that I saw today as we were prepping for the show. So Kawa hasn't lost a game this season where Willard has played at least 30 minutes, except the one exception to that is against Stjarnan. So that was interesting to me. So I guess things are good when Willard is in the middle of the pitch for them, and playing well. And yeah, his goal is really nice, low and hard into the far corner. What did you think of this game? How did you see this?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this game a little bit last week. It was a bit crucial for both teams. Both not maybe started the season as they wanted to. Kawa was tipped to be closer to the title race than this, and Stjarnan. Yeah, we didn't really know what Stjarnan was going to be, but I think most people thought they would be better than this. So, this was a big. Sorry, Fylkir. What am I talking about? You confuse me with Stjarnan.
Oh, is that? Yeah.
No, that was that's my my travel brain is of course. No, but my point still stands, right? It's Fylkir. I've been having a good uh, recent couple of games, and Kao
Yeah.
maybe not so much. So we talked about this. We did talk about this game last week. That it was an interesting thing if Fylkir would be able to take some more points off Kawa this season. Didn't turn out that way. I think Kawa, from what I didn't manage to see this game, unfortunately, but from what I've been able to glean, it seems like Kawa was fairly comfortable. Fylkir came a little bit in towards the end and made it uncomfortable for Kawa, but it was a solid home win. I think it's very much what Kawa needed.
Yeah, I guess I should mention as well, for Fylkir, the goal scorer was Benedikt Gardarsson in the 85th minute. So kind of a late goal to sort of put them back into the mix, but I'm not sure it was ever horribly in danger. But as we've mentioned before, 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in soccer. But yeah, if you look at some of the stats for this game, like Kawa actually they had less possession percentage than Fylkir did. They only had 48% possession, whereas Fylkir had 52, and they did have a better XG. Excuse me, fighting a little cold here. So Kawa had the better XG, but yeah. So I guess I don't know. I mean, it's for Fylkir, you kind of, I guess, looking at stats at least, you're just kind of like, well, they had more possession, they were able to complete more passes, but they still lost the game. They had 14 shots, 7 of them on target. So I mean, they were creating chances. They just weren't able to convert on them, I guess. So yeah, for what it's worth, I think it's probably a good sign that Fylkir's able to put up a fight like that away from home. And props to Kawa for getting that, for getting that result. I think that's a good result for them, which pulls them back up into, the upper half of the table. So it's good. It's good. So yeah, moving on. So let's go to your team next. So Kaur, they played EBVF at home. It ended as a 1-1 draw with Halsen scoring in the 68th minute to put Kaur up 1-0. And then Felix Orn Fredriksson scored a late penalty to make it 1-1, and EBVF snatched a point away from home. I know you watched a lot of this game, so I don't know. Was Kaur a bit lucky to come away with a point here? I think EBVF missed a penalty in the first half. I thought the header from Halsen was really good. It reminded me of, and maybe did you send this to me? I think in our chat too. Like, it reminded me of Van Persie's goal in the World Cup for the Netherlands.
Yeah, I might have tweeted that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think for sure Kaur was quite lucky to get away with that. I do think that Simon Kjellvik, the goalkeeper, who's been criticized quite a lot, the Kaur goalkeeper has been critiqued quite a lot this season. He came away, came away from this game, and he should be quite proud with his performance. He's saved that penalty. He saved. EBVF hit the post, I think 3 times, post and or bar. I think I can't remember exactly, but it was But he made some really good saves and kept Coward in the game for sure. I think Coward we had our moments, but we had some decent periods where we threatened, but I think Giesmid also in the EBVF goal did pretty well, and I think in general EBVF were the team that should maybe feel a bit more disappointed, even though it was a very late equalizer. I was actually joking with Orri, our guest from last week, that it's a miracle that these these teams can't seem to score, so it's a miracle that both of them scored in one match. It's just a problem that doesn't seem to be going away. Maybe for Coward, you have one of the strikers scoring finally now, but not maybe too consistently. And then IBVF had a good game against Haukar last week, right? But I think, on another day they would have followed it up with a nice win against Coward today. But just couldn't put the ball away, and a nice performance from the goalkeeper at Coward.
Yeah, for sure. I guess in my opinion, if he's like not in the team of the week, I think people are crazy. Because you look at some of the stats for this game, they're insane. So the XG for EBVuff was 3.22, whereas for Cowler it was 0.39, right? So that's a pretty big disparity right there. And then Cowler enjoyed a lot of the possession, but it just kind of felt like, I think, because I caught the first half of this game, and just like, I don't know, it didn't quite feel like they were able to do anything with it, I guess. And so that was maybe a little frustrating, and they only ended up with 5 shots on goal, whereas EBVuff had 16. 16 shots, only 4 on goal though. So it's just really
seems low. I don't know. Maybe it's my coward eyes. Watching that game, it seemed like a lot more that were either saved or hit.
Yeah.
But it's for sure. I agree. I think Coward had the ball, but didn't really know maybe what to do with it always. I think they had a decent period in the first half where there was some youthful energy from Johannes Kristin and from Benoni on the other side. The sort of 2 young wing backs. They're sort of they're kind of sometimes defending. Johannes Kristin is maybe more defending than Benoni, which is in this game at least. But I think they were both providing a lot of the impetus down the wings. But like you said, maybe not a lot of end products.
Yeah. I think it's a good point for Cowler though. I think for a while there, I thought they were going to sneak away with all 3 points, which would have been huge. But I think they'll look back on this game and be like, okay, maybe the way that it turned out, a point here is probably not bad, right? You want to win your home games, but all things considered, I think that at least that would be my take for if I were the coach or whatever. But and it might be the opposite for EBVuff. Like I'd probably feel like a little, I don't know, a little unlucky, I guess, to maybe not get more out of this game. So I also did want to mention for EBVuff, it just seems to be the way that their season is going. Like they have terrible away form. Like this is their first point that they've picked up away from home all season long. They up to this point they had 6 straight losses away from home, and this was their first point. So I guess credit to them for being able to get the point, I guess. But they've got to figure out a way to start getting some results and some points, picking up some points away from home. So.
And then on the flip side, Coward, we haven't played that many home games this season, but I think we've only we beat Stjarnan and then we drew at EBVuff. That's the only points we have this season at home. So it's not, but that's been the case for a little bit of time now. A few seasons that we've not been the greatest at home.
Yeah. All right, the other game on Saturday was FAO, and they were hosting Breiðablik in what I guess in my opinion was the game of the week. So it ended 2-2, and this was a crazy game. I was kind of balanced between doing some work out on some fields, football fields, and trying to watch this game while I was walking around these fields watching kids play football. So and even in my I wouldn't say limited. I saw the whole first half, and then the second half it was a bit spotty. But even in my limited view of this game, yeah, it was a wild game. So FL went down 2-0 real early. Stefan Ingi scored in the 14th minute to put Breiðablik up 1-0, and then Victor Einarsson scored in the 18th, just 4 minutes later to put Breiðablik up 2-0. And both those goals, in my opinion, were sloppy. The first one for sure. I don't know what our goalkeeper was doing on the first one. He just basically gifted it to Stefan Ingi more or less. And then on the second goal, to be fair to Breiðablik, like they recovered the ball, and they made a really nice pass sequence up the center of the field, and FL just looked to step behind the whole way, and then yeah, he finished it. And I thought, I don't know if you saw it and what you think, but I thought the goalkeeper maybe could have done a little bit better on that second one.
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't think he was. To be honest, I thought it was more the defense. I think in my at least maybe it's just me. Like when a pass goes straight through the center like that, it always looks, maybe it just looks worse than it is, right? It just,
Yeah.
when a passes go straight through the defense and they just run, Victor Cut just run straight through the defense. It doesn't look super great. And I don't know. I think I don't think the goalie looked amazing in either one, but no, I don't know. And in my opinion, I don't think he was to blame for either of them.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's good then. That makes me I'll back off a little bit. But yeah, then so
like I said, it's, you always watch it with fans' eyes, right? So it's
yeah,
different.
that's true.
You get different viewpoints.
Yeah,
Both are fair.
I had some glasses on, right? Some tinted glasses, black tinted glasses. But yeah, so then soon after started the comeback for FL, and I think we impressed a lot of people this weekend. Going 2-0 down, and then scrapping our way back. So David Sneer scored in the 35th and the 55th minute to help FL get the points there. But yeah, like some of the stories of this game. So obviously, Snare with the two, David with the 2 goals, right? And he was named player of the round by Morgan Bladin. Did I say that right?
Yeah, pretty close.
That's pretty close. Okay. Which is it's a news outlet in Iceland, right? And so he was named player of the round, and I think it's justified, right? Like I don't want to say single-handedly, but he was a key cog in dragging FL back into that game, and it was pretty impressive comeback. FL had 20 shots in the game. That's the highest this week, by a little bit. Valor had 16 in their game, and 10 of those 20 shots for FL were on goal, which I think is impressive, especially going up against the defending champions, a team that you lost to in the cup a week ago. And so I think they learned from that game a little bit, and I think it's impressive that they felt like they could come back in that game, especially with such a young team. We've talked about that about FL before, and they have the second youngest, or they're the team with the second highest amount of U21 players getting minutes in the league so far this season, and to only have 41% possession through the whole game, but come out with a 3.33 xG, which is the highest as well this week. I don't know, for me, and again, glasses, but for me, I thought it was pretty impressive. So I was really happy with the point.
Yeah, for sure. Oris said it quite eloquently last week. Amid has done a really good job with this FL team. I remember we were sort of live, or sort of we had the live score of the cup game when we were recording last week, and yeah, they couldn't quite keep up with Breiðablik. Of course, it wasn't full strength team from both teams. It was it was a bit slightly different 11s, and cup and league it's different, of course. But so I think especially when they went 2-0 down after just losing to them a few days earlier. I think, I mean, to be honest, I was not, I didn't really see this coming, to be honest. And then you started saying, oh, no, we've we're working our way back, or we just need one goal. And yeah, no, I caught I caught a lot of this game, and I was really impressed with FO. I definitely didn't think they were sitting back and snatching goals. Luckily it wasn't any sort of counterattacking, that sort of sense. It was a really good performance, and like I said, Heimir has done a really great job with a very young team, and standing up to Breiðablik like that is really impressive. And yeah, David Snyder, he's I think I read somewhere he'd only scored like one goal in the top division before this, and now he scored two the same game. That might be wrong, but I think I read that somewhere. So it's
Wow.
it's not like he's been banging them in regularly. So it's quite impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'll take it. Do you think that that FO has any shot at the title, or at least a European spot? Like, do you think they're a contender now?
Yeah, I think for Europe for sure. The title, at least how it looks now with Vikingur, and we'll come on them later, but they're clearly not unstoppable after the last 2 weeks, the previous 2 weeks. But I think it's the gap between Vikingur and FO is still a bit too. It would require a bit of a collapse there. But for Europe for sure. I mean, they're not that far away from. They're only 6 points behind Breiðablik with a game in hand. They're ahead of Kawa, and then below Kawa it's Haukau and Kawa, which neither of those teams have had maybe that consistent of a season so far. So
right, yeah.
No, Europe for sure. I think I think it's for Heimir and for the FO team. This season is about consistency, and then I think nobody's really talking. I think it will be. I think Heimir will be distancing himself from the title as much as possible. Try to try to make sure that there's not the sort of expectations on these kids, and just try to get some consistency and move them away from maybe the last few years of not the greatest time in FO's history, in recent years at least. No, so
Right.
no, so yeah, a long way to say that yes, Europe, no title.
Yeah, I don't even want to get my hopes up for Europe, if I'm being honest. And to be fair, I'm not sure I've seen enough from us yet this season to really put eggs in that basket just yet. Like, I think this was a good performance. But there were some other games that we played that, we were we looked far and away from like that sort of level. So like once we can start to do it kind of consistently and put in some good performances consistently, then maybe I'll start to hope a little bit. But I still think, the top three as they are right now, Vikingur, Valor, and Breiðablik, I think are probably the three teams that will end the season in those spots. But you never know. You never know. So,
No, I agree that it's FO haven't been. It's not like they've been winning every game and playing amazing football the whole season. And now that we're halfway. But I think what's impressive about them is that they're clearly, they're sort of rising and building up to something. I think there's been teams that have gone up and down, and you don't really know. You kind of know what to expect from them, but not really. But I think FO, it's been growing. They're sort of seem to be growing into this league. So I think. So I mean, if they can continue that, then I think they have a chance. But of course, no, the early season form wouldn't say that wasn't screaming Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Shout out to FO too for their sweet pink kits for breast cancer. It's pretty cool. So we have in the notes here Mr. Kjartan Henry. So I guess we have to talk about it. I don't really want to talk about it, but we probably have to talk about it. Once again, showing some, I don't know, some silly behavior, headbutting, a player who probably milked it a little bit, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, he's got to stop doing that. I mean, he's lucky, I think, to probably still be on the field. I think if the referee had seen it, because I'm not sure the ref saw it, or if there was VAR in the Besta, I think that probably would have been reviewed, and yeah, there definitely could have been a card there for sure. And yeah, at this point, I'm just like starting to get irritated with it. Like, dude, just control yourself. Like, let's be done with that.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that about Captain Henry, I think. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a silly challenge, right? But like you said, Tommy, I think it was, you milked it a little.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Oh,
quite
totally.
a headbutt.
Yeah.
It was a sort of a nod in his direction. But yeah, it's it's about intent, right? It's not always about connecting and injuring.
Correct. So. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Kjartan, if you're listening, for probably the only FL fan in the United States, actually that's not true, in Cincinnati, Ohio, please stop. All right. I did want to touch on Breiðablik a little bit more. And I want to talk about two things. First, do you think they should be worried about their defense, and the fact that they're consistently conceding goals? And then to kind of piggyback off of that, right? So the Champions League draw for the preliminary round was earlier today, and they drew Tryggvi from San Marino. I guess, and maybe I'll answer my own question here, but I think that is something that should be looked at with a critical eye going into these European matches. I'm not sure Tryggvi is going to be a team that gives them a ton of fits. I personally don't think it should. I think Breiðablik has way more talent, and obviously, maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know much about the Tryggvi team, so I don't know who's playing in it. But you would think, you got players like Stefan Ingi and Gunnlaugsson, and who am I missing? Tryggvi, right? Or not Tryggvi. Who am I missing? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, so
yeah,
I think
Victor Karl and all these, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the whole front six, or whatever you want to call them when they're attacking. It's they're definitely formidable force. And yeah, I mean, of course, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've even ever seen Tryggvi play a game. So it's, and we're talking about Icelandic football here. It's not like we're talking. It's not saying it's bad, but it's a country of 300,000 people. So for us to say that another country is small and insignificant would be semi-hypocritical.
True.
But
true. This is true.
But no, I think it's sort of, I try to answer your question a little bit as well. I think going forward, this is a team that has been impressing. It's the goals they scored this weekend, like you said, they were really nice. They fought back against Víkingur to come draw that game very, very impressively. And they've my internet is completely failing me, so I was trying to see exactly how many goals they have scored this season. I can't get that number right now because nothing's working. But
23.
Yeah, so I mean, they're not scraping 1-0 wins here. So going forward, they should at least worry some European teams. But yeah, they've conceded 15-ish goals,
yes,
right?
15. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice, yeah. And yeah, of course, there's been some games like the Haukau incident at the beginning of the season, and and things like that. That of course color those numbers a little bit, but I think if they'd only conceded 5 goals and they and one of the and 4 of those were against Haukau, then that's that's one thing, but it's still 11 goals they've conceded in the other 11 games. With one of the best goalkeepers in the league, a very strong defense, strong midfield. But they are conceding, so it's for sure a worry whether it's against Trepene or if they make it to the next round, whether against the Montenegrin champions or the round after that. I think it's for sure it's a worry, or at least from what we've seen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would expect them to get past Trepene, and I would like to see them. So I think it very well could be because Budućnost Podgorica is playing a team from Andorra, who I can't remember right now. Anyways, and yeah, all these games are actually taking place in Iceland. You actually filled me in on that earlier today. I was not aware. I thought they were home and away legs, but they're not. It's like a little round. It's like a mini tournament, and it's all being held in Iceland with all 4 teams. So for Breiðablik, if you add that into the mix, in my opinion, I don't think there's any excuse. Like, I think they should be able to get through all 4 of these teams, or I think they should be the one that comes out of this little mini group, and move on to the first round, right? And then after that, it gets tougher, obviously.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I think that's a good team. They have some really good players, like all the ones you mentioned, Gisle, Stefan Ingi, Gunnlaugur, and all these really talented players. They should worry some teams, but let's see how they do against some of the other ones. I finally, my internet's finally working, so I can sort of I can read off some of the stuff, because they've had some impressive performances, right? They've held Valur to a goalless. They beat Valur 2-0, which, considering what Valur have done this season in terms of goals, that's quite impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But then they conceded 2 against IBVF, 4 against Fram. Clean sheets against Kauer and Kawa, and Keflavik, which, considering the rest of the season, maybe is to be expected. And then it's 2 against Vikingur, 2 against FO. It's again, it's not a disaster. It's not like they're leaking goals. It's more like, I think, if you want to both challenge for the title here at home and then also go for a European run, I think it's something they'll need to look into.
Yeah, no, I agree. Cool. Yeah, well, I think that's a good summary for Breiðablik and what's coming. Those games are at the end of this month, so I think they're in about 2 weeks. I think they're in exactly 2 weeks, actually. I think it's on the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. And then I believe the draw for Europa Conference League is on the 20th. It probably doesn't matter too much, but it's around there at some point in time, and so we'll find out who Vikingur and Kawa will be facing. So yeah, great. So speaking of Valor, let's hop to them next. A 5-0 drubbing of Haukau. Just yeah. They can definitely score the goals, that's for sure. And Haukau are, as we've mentioned before, on a slide right now. When I was watching this game, I actually the first half, and in particularly the first 15 minutes of this game, I thought Haukau actually played pretty well. They had a shot, I think, that went off. They go off the post maybe, and then they had another opportunity. It was like 1-on-1 with the keeper. And somehow it didn't go in. It was kind of like a mad scramble. So, they put out a good first 15-20 minutes, but then when Tryggvi scored in the 20th minute, Tryggvi Rapp, I don't know, I can't say it, to make it 1-0. I just felt like Haukau just really, I don't know, they just kind of like died. Like I didn't see that same sort of energy from them for the rest of the game. Like it just just kind of petered out. So yeah, as I mentioned, a 5-0 score for Valor, with Tryggvi again getting 2 goals. Like, the dude's on fire. Aaron in the 52nd to make it 0-2 and 2-0, and then Patrick Peterson actually scored twice. No, those were the five goals in this game. So yeah, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's the Valor formula. It's they. I feel like every time I watch them, at least for the last few weeks, it's the same sort of goals. It's Tryggvi up doing the Robin. Now that we're comparing, Icelandic or the players to Dutch legends, so
Yeah.
he does the cuts from the wing. It seems to be better when he cuts from the left, and he's the opposite side of Robin, of course. But cuts from the left and cuts inside and scores. Nobody really seems to be able to stop him. He was going to do the same for the 5th, right? He was going to score a hat trick, but then he passed it selflessly to Patrick. And then Aron Johansson does the late run into the box as they cut back a bit, Pep Guardiola style. A lot of these cutbacks that we've spoken about so many times this summer. It's just they found a attacking formula that works from them. Either let Tryggvi run down the left and score, or these cutbacks to Aronio or the rest of the Valor attack, which seems to be basically every player seems to be an attacker in this team. But yeah, it's I think it's Hauka tried. But it's when Valor do this, there's not many teams in this league who can resist.
Yeah. So I was specifically interested in Aaron's goal, and I watched it a couple different times, and I watched, so on the feed you can see him. So I think, I can't remember if it's off a throw in or what. But the ball comes in, and he's like to the left of the screen, and then the camera has to pan because they switch the ball to the far right side, right? And that's like the key moment. Like, that's Aaron's signal to start his run into the box, I guess. And so they're messing with the ball on the right side, and then they cut in and they square it back, and there he is. Like, you can just, and then Aaron all of a sudden pops back into the camera, and you see him, he's making his run into the box, and he's like nobody's marked, like nobody followed him. Like, and I guess it's interesting to me that, like, teams haven't picked up on this yet. Like I know they're scouting their opponents, but this, as we've mentioned and you've mentioned, right, this is like a recurring theme. So, like, how come, what's happening? Like, how is he shaking the defender off, I guess is my question, which I'd be curious at some point to discover, and we don't have to go into it here, but because he's like wide open in the box, and he just smacks it home. So really interesting. And Valor just keep scoring 4 goals in 20-minute span from the 52nd minute to the 73rd minute. Something I also wanted to point out with this game too is both teams actually, this was a very free-flowing game. Both teams had a really high pass completion rate. And watching the game, you got a real sense of that, right? So Hauka actually had an 81% pass completion rate, and Valor had 85%, right? So there wasn't a lot of like stop-start in this game. Like, the game really flowed, and it made it fun to watch. I thought it was appealing, and there were some really good pass sequences that were put together, and it's just funny that, like, Hauka has such a high pass completion rate, but they weren't really able to do anything with it. So that's just something that stood out to me from this game. I think also another point too is, they've been without Marciano Aziz, the Belgian, for the last 2 games. He hasn't played in either of those. And then the 2 games before that, I was doing some research last night. The 2 games before that, he was subbed out in the second half in both those games, and then almost immediately Cal concedes what would turn out to be like the losing goal in those games. So clearly he's a really important player for them. And we saw that early on in the first game of the season, actually, when Cal, beat Breiðablik. Aziz was masterclass in that game. And so, I think there's something to be said for his impact in Cal and the fact that, they need him to play for one, and they need him to perform well for another. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but they have some big games coming up next, especially in terms of like where they're going to be in the table. They have Kauer soon, Filker, and Fram. Those 3 games are all in a row, and yeah, you just wonder if I'm not aware of an injury to him. Maybe he is injured. That's definitely possible, and I certainly could have missed that, but yeah, just they need him.
Yeah, no, it's not a big team, right? It's like you said, it's a well playing team, and they haven't all of a sudden stopped knowing how to play football. It's they've all season they've been quite a fun team to watch with a very aggressive play, high pressing, the passing and the fast movements. They're a fun team to watch. It's just not really working in these last few games. I think we've spoken a little bit about in the past few weeks that they've sort of overperformed in terms of the XG in some games when they won or when they scored. Then I think it's interesting that maybe it's a good sign that they are getting some more shots on goal, some good quality shots on goal in this game. So maybe they're moving back towards a curve in the right direction. This is just they just faced a team that was a bit too big of a bite for them, especially missing some players, where they maybe struggle to get those chances against IPVAF, for example.
Right.
But no, like you said, they have some games that maybe on paper aren't the toughest. They've played some tough games. They're not Valur. They're not going to play Valur now for the next few games, but they play Breiðablik right after the international break, and then these 3 games that you mentioned. And I think if they struggle to collect points against those 3, then it's July, the midway point in the second half of the season, and they're starting to get dragged down into the relegation point, because that's not a big gap, right? They're on 13 points in 6th place. IPVAF is on 10 points in 11th, so it's it's not they can't afford to go too many weeks without winning.
Right. Yeah, it's getting tight down there for sure. Yeah, and I can't imagine that, this next game against Breiðablik, Cal got one over them in the very first game of the season, and it was kind of the talk of the country, I think, and so I think Breiðablik's going to want to maybe correct that. So I can't imagine them having a similar result this time around. But man, if they do, that would be something else for sure, to get the double over your I guess your closest rival. Anyways, yeah. All right, that's enough Haukow chat. Let's go to Vikingur Fram. So Vikingur, just pretty straightforward, pretty simple win, 3-1 at home against Fram. Agnarsson in the 21st minute made it 1-0. Then Daniel Juric in the 29th minute made it 2-0, and then Birnir Ingason in the 34th minute to make it 3-0. And yeah, all these goals were scored in the first half. Fred also scored for Fram. Fred, of course, as this is the Fred show. So shout out Fred too. He followed our new Instagram account yesterday. So thanks, Fred. Appreciate you. And yeah, if you're interested in following us, we did set up an Instagram account. Thought it might be a nice touch to try to bring some more visual type things to to the league. So it's at Besta English is our handle, and we also changed the handle on our Twitter account to match. So at Besta English now. So anywho, and yeah, that was it. So really just the first half show in this game, and I don't know. I don't have a ton to say on this one, if I'm being honest. I don't know about you.
No, I mean it was, I'm not gonna say I called it. I don't think this was the hardest thing to predict. Yeah, I mean Fram are not a bad team, but Vikingur are just better. It's just, and with these last two games where 1 point from 2 games against their title rivals, they desperately wanted to bounce back, and this is not a team that rests on its laurels. This is a team that springs back and is just absolutely deadly in this. An XG of 0.71 for 3 goals. I mean, one of the goals was, yeah, I don't know the XG on that, right? It was but it was a gift. I think
Yeah.
It was interesting. The goalkeeper knocking into his defender, or the other way around. I don't know who was quite to blame there, but and then just giving the ball to Daniel. So yeah, Fram didn't do themselves any favors, but I think Vikingur was just their they had to take a box. They had to win this game. They had no choice. I don't think their manager, I don't think Arne Gunnlaugsson gave them much of a choice. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
I'm not sure they were allowed to return home if they didn't win this game.
Yeah.
So job done.
Yeah.
Next, I think, for them.
Yeah. I did want to say also, let me pull it up real quick. Yeah. But Arner's actually been recently linked with jobs in Norway. So with Rosenborg or Valerenga, which would be interesting. I'm going to I had a chat the other day with my buddies at the Nordic Football Pod, and they were a little surprised that either of those teams would maybe show some interest in him. So, like, I don't know how serious the interest is. Our friend Ori tweeted that yesterday, that he might make a good a good option for either of those clubs, and I don't disagree. But yeah, just I guess I thought I'd throw that in there for what it's worth. So
yeah, both him and Oskar Breiðablik have been linked to jobs in the Scandinavia for a few years now. I think Oskar was quite heavily, at least in Iceland, was quite heavily linked to the Norrköping job last season, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, these are very good managers.
yeah.
They've shown that this is not a blip in the pan. I think these guys have shown it for a few years now.
Yeah.
Oskar Rapp with Grote as well. So it's this is not these are, if they're interested, I think for sure they deserve a chance in a more high profile league. But of course we'd hate to lose them. They're great managers and characters, and I think it's great for the league to have a lot of good managers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. They definitely add some flavor to the league, and yeah, it'd be sad to see him go, but yeah. All right, we'll leave that one there. Keflavik 1, Stjarnan 1. Man, I am really surprised by Stjarnan, and to be fair, like, Isak Andri was not in the squad again. So they were without one of their main creators, and props to Keflavik for getting a goal in this game. It was like 0.45 xg, so they it was really, and Stjarnan only had 0.81, so you can just get a sense of how this game was. It was a rough watch. I guess to be fair, though, we should say Keflavik had five shots total, 1 on target, and Stjarnan had 10, with 4 of those being on target. But yeah, like what are your thoughts on this game? Like, are you like, we know Stjarnan is a young team. We've talked about this before. But have you really seen anything since the new coach has come in that's telling you like they're going to be okay, or like what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I think again it was we keep keep going back to him, but I think it's he made some interesting points last week. Already he was,
Yeah.
touching on the fact that this is I think they're doing some interesting things. I think there's, they have some, like we talked about, but we'll maybe touch quickly later. It's the national team selections for the youth national teams came out, and they had, they're gonna have to postpone a bunch of games because basically half their team is on an international duty.
Yeah.
So it's always a bit hard, and it's not, we're not even talking under 21, we're talking U19. So this is, well and truly teenagers. And when you get, I think as soon as you get a team maybe not performing consistently, it's kind of hard to drag them out of a rut like that when it's not like it's going terribly, it's just not really clicking. And then when you have Isak Andre going in and out of the team, and he is just quite, I don't, again, not a big shout here, but I think he's like, he is just their best player. He is Ekethadon has done a really good job. He scored a really nice goal to equalize the goal, equalize here. And he's done really well in the last few weeks as well. But I just think Isak Andre is, like we've mentioned before, he's not, he can sort of seemingly do everything, or at least that's the role he's taken at Stjarnan. He can be the poacher, he can be the creator, he can be the playmaker. He can run with the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball. He can sort of, it all seems to, and not just he can, but it seems to flow through him a lot. Like that's, at least every time I watch Stjarnan, it just flows automatically through him. So I think, and then when I watch them without him, it all seems they all seem a bit lost. And Hilmar Árni was taken off. I think it said a lot that Hilmar Árni was taken off while they were searching for an equalizer in this game. Hilmar Árni has been one of the most consistent goal scorers in the league. Never mind Stjarnan, for the past few years. Albeit he's had his severe injury issues, but yeah, I think it says a little bit that searching for an equalizer in an important game, they take off a player like that. It's not quite clicking for him yet. Of course, like I said, he's been injured, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking for them as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's alarming to me a little bit that, they had 70% possession basically, Stjarnan did, and only scored, one goal with 10 shots in the game. So yeah, there definitely still some struggles there. But on the flip side, for Keflavik, they're basically like the Stoke City of Iceland. They just like pack it in, and can you do it on a cold night in in not Stoke? I forget the stadium they're playing in, but anyways, so but yeah,
I mean it's they for sure, they've, like we spoke about last week, it's a team that seems destined to go down, but they're not going without a fight.
Correct.
They're the one with the highest number of draws in the league. They've conceded much less than most of their relegation fellow relegation battlers. So it's they just can't seem to score. That's the main issue.
That's the thing. Yep. Cool. Well, yeah, that wraps up match week 11. We're gonna step aside real quick, take a quick break, and then we'll be back with part 2 where we're gonna talk about the national team. So we'll see you in just a second.
And welcome back. We're gonna, like Joe said, we're gonna take a bit of a left turn. We're gonna talk about the national team since it's the national team break coming up. The selection, there's two huge games for the senior team coming up. I think let's leave the senior team for 2 seconds. Let's just go quickly through the youth teams because it's quite interesting. Like we touched on in the U19 team, there's 5 players from Stjarnan. We've spoken about it before. They're a young team with a lot of potential, but it's
Mm-hmm.
insane that they're getting, basically half their team is being called up to the national team.
Yeah. Well, the factory, right? The Star Factory. Maybe that's what we should start nicknaming them.
Yeah, and of course, it's the U19 team is not a regular window for them. They're going to the Euros, right? There were 2 controversies, yes, in the team selection here is that 2 of the main stars were not allowed, I guess, or sort of the teams blocked their selection because it's not an official UEFA FIFA date, whatever that means. It's the clubs the clubs can are allowed to veto the selections for these players, and that's specifically for this tournament. It's Christian Tryggvi from Ajax and Orestedt from FC Copenhagen. Orestedt, of course, was the overall top scorer in the qualification, not just for Iceland, but in the entire qualification campaign.
Golden boot.
Yeah, so it's a huge loss. And obviously Christian Tryggvi is knocking on the door for the Ajax first team. He's been on the bench a few times. I know he played a few cup games. I'm not 100% sure if he ever made a league debut. I think he has, but it's escaping me right now. But the word is that Ajax feel that he's close enough to the senior team that they don't want to let him go for the entire preseason. And the same for Orri. He's, if not going to be up for selection for FC Copenhagen, he's going to be then I guess loaned out for first team selection for another team. So a big loss for the U19s, but it does mean that there's a place for yet another Gudjonsson name. Daniel Tristan of Malmö in Sweden, who came on for his debut the other day. So the legacy lives on. It's I think it's just going to be a continuous line of Gudjonssons in the national team, I think, until the end of time.
So do you think it's and maybe this is a poor question, I don't know, but it looks like Christian is in the senior team though. So Ajax released him for the senior team, but not for the U19s.
Yeah, I mean the U19s is obviously a slightly longer window because it's a tournament, right? So
correct,
yeah. So that's sort of why. And then people expected him to be called up to the U21s maybe, but I think the consensus seems to be that Håreide, the new manager of the national team, sort of wanted to give him a taste of the senior team and also kind of wanted to take a look at him. I think there's been maybe a few eyebrows raised that we're calling up a young player who's not in the first team at Ajax, but I mean he's playing in the Dutch second division and scoring and assisting, and he's playing fairly well for a team that's maybe not had the best season. But he's doing quite well, so I'm really excited to see if he gets any minutes. Like I said, it's 2 crazy important games against oh god, is it Slovenia or Slovakia? My brain just can't.
It is Slovakia.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I know it's a bit of a cliche. My brain cannot remember the difference. Even I know the difference between the two teams. Like I've been to Slovakia, I've never been to Slovenia. It's I just when it's only the names that I'm trying to remember, I just can't. My brain
That's
cannot
okay.
do it for me. So yeah.
No worries. You're on vacation mode. It's all good. You're excused. No worries.
Apparently, yeah.
So going back to the U19 team, so for the Euros, so they're in a group with Greece, Norway, and Spain. Are you anticipating them to get out of that group?
Yeah, I mean it's. I think all those teams are fairly good. I mean it's it might not be the biggest names. And we're not talking about England or France or Italy or something like that, but
Like Italy's
yeah,
the only one.
I think
Italy's the only one out of those countries you just named that made it. Like England and France aren't even there.
okay, that shows how much my brain is in vacation mode at the moment.
Hey, no, that's okay because
Yeah.
I mean this is all new information for me too. The U19 Euros is a fairly new thing for me. So
No, I mean what I meant to say is they might not be the biggest names, but I think especially at this level, it's a bit hard to make those sort of. It's not always the biggest names that win these things.
right,
You've
yeah,
seen it so many times again of, this is the future England team or France team based on U19, U17, U20 performances, and then those players, you check on them 10 years down the line, and they're playing either they're not
yeah,
playing at all or they're playing in the 5th division and somewhere.
yep,
So it's sometimes it's just down to some kids grow up a bit faster and are a bit
yeah.
stronger, or it's the gelling of some kids that maybe just been playing together forever. I think Iceland really benefited with that, with the golden generation back in the day. So there's so many small different factors that play with this. So we definitely have a shot, but
So then what is Ori Stein doing then if Copenhagen didn't release him, I guess he's just going on vacation and having a summer, I guess.
well, the Danish preseason is really short.
Yeah, the
So
league picks up in like 5 weeks, I think. So yeah, preseason starts like in a couple weeks, a week or two maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So because the main break is in the winter. Like the winter break is from like end of like some November, maybe beginning of November to March,
Yeah,
something like that. It depends on the leagues, but yeah, so that means the summer break is really short. So they barely get home to see their parents, and then it's back in time for training.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the hope for Iceland is that he's getting ready to play for the first team for FC Copenhagen.
yeah.
He came on for a few European games and some cup games, and I think maybe some league games. I mean, must have come some league games as well. So he's also knocking on the door for the first team, but it might be that he's loaned out again. He was loaned out for the second half of the season down to Sønderjyske, I think it was, and he
Okay,
did
yeah,
fairly well.
that's good.
No, so it'll be a fun summer to see if the U19s can tease the bigger countries. And then yeah, the U20s, there's some U21, sorry. There's some nice interesting picks in terms of the Besta division, Besta deildin. We have Oscar Borgþórsson from Vilkir, Úlfur August, I think you're one of your favorite players.
Yep.
And then obviously two from Stjarnan because it's a youth team. So Isak Andri being one of them. So it's only friendlies. The U21s are playing, so it's not the most important window, but it's nice to see some local players getting in. It's for a small team like Iceland, small country like Iceland, it's always fun to see that we can fill out a team made out of players coming from abroad, but it's also nice that some of our local first division team players are good enough to be getting called up.
Yeah.
And then
That's exciting. That's very exciting. I'm stoked for Ulfur August. I Yeah, it's good. It's good for him. I was really disappointed to learn that he's going stateside in the fall to go to school. I was bummed about that. I didn't realize that, so that was news for me this week. So, anyways, that's besides the point. Keep going.
No, it's he's done quite well. There was discussion whether he was going to get any game time with Captain Henry coming in. So I think he's really done a great job grabbing bull by the horns and not just getting game time, but getting goals.
Yeah.
I think hopefully he can impress in the States.
Yeah.
And then we can quickly go through the senior team. Like we said, it's Åge Horade's first window as national team manager. 2 huge games that realistically, if we don't win at least one of them, that's most likely it.
Yeah.
Even if we do, I think we're still in huge trouble. So wasn't the greatest start to the qualifying campaign, which obviously meant that Arna Solvidason was sacked. So we'll see what he can. It's national team management is always a bit weird because they only get a few days with these players, especially when they're new, right? It's how much can you really impart tactically on a team like this? But they've been a bit lucky. It's the end of the season, so they've gotten a week or maybe 10 days now with some players, not all of them.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can instill some Norwegian steel.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited for this for these 2 games, and yeah, I'm hoping. I agree with you. I'm hoping they can do something. I think Slovakia is the best shot they have. I think Portugal is going to be a really tough game. But anything is possible. But yeah, I would like to see us really go for it against Slovakia for sure. And I'm excited by some of the names in here. You've already touched on some of them, but it's good to see IBJ back, of course, and obviously around his club situation and what's going on there. Not getting a lot of minutes at Copenhagen. He's kind of voiced his discontent with that, and hopefully he can find either a solution there or somewhere else. He's probably gonna have to go look elsewhere. I hope not. I'd like to see him stay at FC Co, but you never know. And another name that I wanted to ask you about that I'm really excited about is Valgeir Lundahl at BK Häcken. So they won the Swedish league last year. Excuse me. And he's been getting a lot of regular minutes there. He's looked pretty impressive. And I guess I'm just curious if you kind of share that same level of excitement, or if you're just kind of like meh.
No, he's he stopped at Valor very quickly from
it was like 2021, I think.
Yeah, he came from I'm blanking now. He came basically very quick.
He went to Valor from Fjolnir.
Yeah, exactly, Fjolnir. Yeah, he impressed at Fjolnir, and there was talk about him going straight from Fjolnir to abroad, but he stopped at Valor, and I don't know if that was if that's a reason for he's doing so well, but I think maybe it was a good idea to stop at to slightly bigger club with a bit more do this sort of medium step before taking the bigger step.
Yeah.
And Häcken was a fantastic choice, clearly, for him, not just because they won the league, but it's a bit of a smaller club traditionally.
Right. Yeah.
So he's been getting minutes, and then performances have been really good. He hasn't maybe his time in the national team hasn't maybe come too much. I'm not saying he's done badly or anything like that. It's just maybe he hasn't gotten the chance, or it's just been unlucky with the form the team has been in the last few years. So this is definitely a chance for him to grab grab the bull by the horn and make the position his own. I think there's definitely room for that because that defense is in a bit of a transition period. I mean,
Yeah,
there's only 6 sort of traditional defenders even called up to the squad.
right.
So I think he's definitely one for the future and is a player that I'm really interested in seeing if he can shore up the defense and against 2 huge teams.
We're going 3-5-2.
I think with Hora they were going like 6 at the back or something.
It's funny. Yeah, no, so I'm excited about him and obviously Hacken winning the league because, they'll have a Champions League campaign. It'd be interesting if they come up against Breiðablik. And because, and maybe unfortunate too, because I think Hacken have a good enough team that they can definitely, they'll get to the later rounds of qualifying, I think. They've got some real talent up front, like Benny Traore. Anyways, I don't. This isn't a Swedish football podcast. I don't want to go into it, but but it's exciting. I'm excited for him, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping that he can do. We'll see if he gets playing time this window, but I think it's good that he's in the squad, and like you said, that defense is in a transition phase, so we need some people to start stepping up to the plate. It's kind of interesting to see Victor Paulsen there too. I mean, not interesting. I mean, he's usually called up, but he's playing over here, and so he comes to Cincinnati when DC United comes into town, and so it's kind of fun to see him. But yeah, I think one name too, and maybe you're going to mention this, but one name we should probably talk about is Albert Gudmundsson is back.
Yeah, he's that's not sure it's big news given that Horad is the manager. I think maybe it would have been bigger if Arnavidas was still the manager.
Yeah.
Because that was a bit of a falling out.
Yeah.
A lot of drama. I don't know if we want to touch upon all that, but yeah, he has not been, wasn't selected in the last round of games, and some interesting comments made by the manager. But he's back. He's had a really good season at Genoa. Was promoted. And there's even been silly transfer season now. So I saw he was being linked with AC Milan. I'm not sure. We'll see. I mean, that would be fantastic to see another Icelandic player in AC Milan. It's been a while.
Yeah.
No, he's just clearly he's clearly one of our most talented players. He has one of those. He's one of those players that maybe hasn't been the most consistent for the national team. But it's also because I think he's been playing on the wing a lot, which he can obviously play on the wing. He does play on the wing, but that's not. I think when we're playing long balls and that sort of stuff, it's maybe not where he shines, in my opinion, at least. So no, I'm really excited to see him back. He should be in the national team unless he's doing something.
Yeah.
Doing something wrong. So no, for sure. Hopefully he can save us.
Yeah, there you go. I think I don't want to go through every name in the squad, I guess, but 2 other names that are popping out to me. So Mikael Andersson is one of them. He had a really good season with AGF. I think if I remember correctly, some of the things I've seen, like he was like player of the season for a couple different people. And so I think that's exciting. And then also Arner Ingvi, who's at Norrköping. No, sorry, Arner Sigurdsson at Norrköping. I've noticed an uptick in the amount of conversation surrounding him recently too. So it kind of feels like he's maybe one to watch out for also. I don't think Norrköping have had like the greatest start to the season so far. but I don't think they're doing horrible either. So, anyways,
No, he's now left Norrköping as well because he was on loan from Jessica, where this sort of weird FIFA
oh yeah, like the
amnesty
Russian,
loan.
yeah, CSK Moscow, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that he's now left Norrköping. Unless something very big happens, he's not going to return to Russia. So he's essentially looking for a new club. So this is a great window for him to show off.
Yeah.
So Norrköping didn't have this greatest start to the season, but he had a pretty decent start as far as I remember. He scored a few goals before he left, and yeah, he's
Right.
we have a lot of these young talented attackers, a bit like some of the Breiðablik or some of the teams in the Besta deildin.
Yeah.
Really hoping we can make full use of them. Just mention one last name is Willem Thor is another player who's I'm really excited to see if he gets any game time. Plays in Holland. He's one of those names that people have been calling out for him to be selected for the last few windows, last few years, to be honest, even when he was playing in Belarus. He's a player that's, been doing pretty well playing abroad for the last few years. He's had some injury issues where he was unlucky to maybe not be selected, but he had a really good season in Holland and the Netherlands, and he's a very, big, strong player who's I think even played up front in the Eredivisie. So it's another great option for us that I think it's good we're a small country, so we need all the help we can get, and to have different options and different sort of players. I think him and Albert being back in the team is absolutely huge for us.
Yeah, I think he kind of helped Go Ahead Eagles to like an 11th place finish, I think, if I remember correctly. And I think a lot of people didn't expect, like that was unexpected for them to do so well in the Eredivisie, if I remember correctly. It was 11th. I'm looking at it right now. So yeah, that's good. That's exciting. He's I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of him, so I'll have to see if I can catch some of him. That's exciting. It's really exciting. Yeah, it should be a good window. I'm hoping, like you said, for at least 3 points, and I don't have too much hope against Portugal, if I'm being honest. But you never know. And I should know this too, but are both our games at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hopefully we have a chance, but we'll see.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. We've gone on long enough, I suppose. Although I think you and I could talk about this all day. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate it, and your support means so much. We're really thankful for everybody who listens and everybody who retweets and likes and favorites our stuff. And yeah, if you get a chance, leave a review. We'd love that. Help more people find us, and feel free to share information about our show on social media as well. We'd really appreciate that. And yeah, I guess all that's left to say is that the next episode that's going to come out, we're going to have a surprise guest. So I don't want to give it away, but we're pretty excited. So yeah, you'll just have to stay tuned for that. So yeah, that's it for me. Tryggvi, any last words?
No, let's off from Iceland.
That's right, off from Iceland. There we go. Thank you. We'll see ya.
Bye.